Also, while we're west, we'll just bring you up to speed. We have finished the 5th season of The Americans, which is a show I would marry and have babies with. We can discuss the final episode, episode 13. But how have you felt about the series as a whole this year?
The season as a whole, I've enjoyed. This episode, though, I was expecting something a bit bigger.
Yeah, I know, and I remember you said that, and I said that. We both said this about the end of the 4th series as well. You imagine, because it does build, it builds slowly.
You had at least a sort of payoff with the Dylan Baker story last time. You had the whole him being captured by the FBI. You had the stuff with Martha. You had quite a lot of stuff at the end, towards the end of season 4. Here, nothing seemed to sort of end, really. I mean, the sort of story going in was that Philip and Elizabeth wanted to go back to Russia, and is it Claudia, the Margot Martindale character?
Yes.
Was sorting it out for them, and poor old Henry wasn't allowed to go to his private school anymore.
That bit really annoyed me. I was like, just let him go. He's had a
just leave him there. Leave him. But then, obviously, the big revelation. Again, I liked how they did this because it was the Kimmy storyline, which has very much been on the back burner the last couple of seasons. But her father, is it, who's becoming head of counterintelligence?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was head of counterintelligence, though, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. Well done for
CIA's Soviet division. So he's basically, now they're going to be able to get all the intel from him. So they've decided now that they've got to stay in the country, sort of for the greater good.
A lot of critics because American critics love The Americans, but a lot of critics have said they feel like this series was slower and less developed because they knew they had series 6. They've only got 10 next year.
I think this season as a whole has been more focused on the relationships rather than the spying stuff. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that didn't go anywhere, like the food stuff. That sort of got dropped.
I thought it was going to be a massive plot line throughout.
The one thing that I felt they didn't spend any time with at all in this last episode was Oleg, who got really left out in the cold. You thought he was going to get... So, something was either he'd get arrested or he'd get sort of cleared out of suspicion, something, but he just sort of left. I think the only time we saw him was he was talking to his mum about being in a prison camp or something like that.
I don't know whether it was this episode or the penultimate where they alluded to the fact that Martha might adopt a young Russian orphan.
That's this last episode, this one.
Because
I like that.
It gives him a happy ending.
Yeah, this seems to suggest that was the end, the last we'll see of Martha, I believe. The big, I suppose, incident was the fact that Pasha, the young Russian boy of the family that Philip and Elizabeth are pretending to be friends with their South Korean adopted child, Twan.
There's only Twan.
Was convinced to not commit suicide, but slit his wrist in a way that he wouldn't kill himself, basically, and as a sort of a cry for help. And it had the sort of desired effect that Pasha and his mum were going to go back to Russia, but Pasha's dad was staying because he'd be put in prison for what's the word now, for
perjury
absconding
type of thing? Absconding.
Treachery,
When I started watching The Americans, I kind of thought at the beginning, I really like the idea of Stan and Philip and Elizabeth being in that interrogation room, all three of them, Stan one side of the table and Philip and Elizabeth the other, and talking about it. I don't think we're going to get that. It feels like it's moved far away from that now, and I still want Stan to catch them, but I don't think the show's about that.
I never have.
Do you not want to show that? Do you not at least want him to find out?
I want him to find out, but I don't necessarily want him to capture them. I don't.
Or at least have a showdown with them, at least. Not maybe capture them.
How lenient he's been with Oleg and all that stuff, and he doesn't want him to suffer, him to be hunted down. So I think he probably feels that. I think we're seeing how Stan is with people that he's got to like, even though they are on the other side, so to speak.
What endgame would you be happy with? Because
you asked me this before, and I told you.
But I don't remember, or I may have edited it out of the podcast or my mind. So
well, I said I don't know. I don't. This probably won't come true now, but I did say at the time that I thought they'd flash forward 20 years into the future, and Paige would be a Russian spy, and Henry would be an FBI agent, and they would sort of clash with each other.
Yeah,
Which sort
in
of
the
had more
unlikely
credence
happen
after
that doesn't happen.
with Henry now getting a tour of the FBI from Stan.
I'm so
I don't
jealous. He
know.
got to meet Male Robot. I want to meet Male Robot.
Male Robot is amazing. On the AV Club on their reviews, they do a Male Robot watch on every review.
He's not been in it enough this series.
No. Was it last season he was a pivotal point where Martha was sort of
using him? She abused Male Robot for the good of the...
Male Robot. I'd like them to get away, I think you've got that much sympathy for them. I loved the wedding episode. I loved the stuff with Paige in the dark room, and they got Master Tim. He's gone now to work in a mission somewhere.
But I hope that Stan at least discovers that these friends that he's made. But I don't know whether it's because this series wasn't so much about anything, was it? Really?
I think he will discover it. I think he will discover it, but I don't think that you'll get an interrogation scene between the two of them. Maybe he lets them go. We'll just have to wait.
That's a nice idea, that he would find out and let them go. For the good of Paige and Henry, and I like that idea. These next 10 episodes need to be quite pacey, and I don't know if the pace seems to have dropped away. I still like it, and I still really like
I get the feeling it's going to pick up again. It's going to be sort of very focused.
But they alluded to the fact that just Elizabeth was going to be doing the spying, and he was going to run the travel agency.
Yeah, because they built up a home there at that travel agency. Yeah. I love the thought of there's these people who work for them have got no idea at all. It's just they're just working at this travel agents, and
I sound like I'm being quite down on it, and I'm not. I think this series was really, really, really strong, but when you think of it as a penultimate series to a long-running series, if it hadn't have happened, I don't know what we'd have missed out on, apart from Paige becoming this sort of ninja type, and Henry just learning that he's really intelligent and has got a girlfriend and things like that, because all the Twan stuff is done.
Oleg in Russia.
I liked all that, I have to admit. But
I'll say they have done a good job of making me sympathise with Oleg now. A character who I originally had very little sympathy for or anything like that. I like how he's been out on his own this season and stuff. And also the stuff with Philip's son, who's now
which again didn't go anywhere, really.
It feels like someone wrote the first half of the season and someone different wrote the second half of the season.
They went away on holiday and just came back and wrote the second half without checking what they'd written in the first half.
It's like, Philip's son's in America now. Better send him back again.
You better send him back. It's like they got him there too early and went, no, we'll send him back. I'll probably be proved wrong, but I think this was a missed opportunity, because it's not like they knew when they were writing this that they did know that they had a 6 series when they were writing this, so they could have made it part 1 and part 2 of the last series, if that makes sense. But this stands very much on its own. I don't think anything that happened is going to particularly carry over, unless we get a Twan spin-off.
Twan for the money. For the show.
Oh, that's just the conversation alone was worth it for that.
It could be a Twan and Pastor Tim spin-off. It could be called What If God was Twan of Us.
Oh, see? I know Joan Osborne would be proud. By the way, if you've got your podcast cards, if you just tick off Joan Osborne, I know you've been waiting there for a while for that one.
Yeah, 5 years, finally.
God, I didn't even know why we put it on the cards originally, but that makes sense now.
No. Well, Shola Rama was on there, but we fixed her off a couple of years ago.
But I really like The Americans, and 5th series that we just talked about is on ITV Encore on Mondays in the UK. I don't know how you watch it in the US, but find it. If you haven't seen it, find it.
Has FX got an on-demand service?
I don't know, probably FX Now or FX Online or something. But find it, watch it, binge it before you get to the final season.